Well, Kamala Harris says you're so crazy that even CNN got freaked out by it. Watch, I'm going to show you what she says, and then I'm going to show you how CNN reacted to it.
And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food. My plan will include new penalties for opportunistic companies that exploit crises and break the rules.
So what she's talking about there is called price controls, limiting the amount that a company could charge for a product. Here's what CNN had to say about this.
I read your piece and I heard you just mention it. The federal ban on price gouging for groceries. You are skeptical of this. Why?
Well, first of all, nobody can explain what price gouging means. It's like that old line about pornography. I know it when I see it. In the sense that what does it mean to have an excessive price or an excessive profit margin? That seems to be shorthand for a price or a profit margin that bugs me. That seems too high. So, it's very hard to pin down what this would actually mean. If you look at the legislation that, as I mentioned, is already in the Senate, led by Senate Warren and Senator Bob Casey and a slew of others, the particular way that this is written, which is likely to be the template for any proposal that Harris would eventually embrace, is especially bad in that it just bans excessive prices, grossly excessive profit margins, and says that the Federal Trade Commission can use any metric it deems appropriate to decide what that would mean. Which basically says, like, it's not going to be markets, it's not going to be supply and demand that's determining how much your grocery store charges you for milk or for eggs. It's going to be some bureaucrat in D.C., which seems like totally unworkable, first of all, for the FTC to be deciding, like, how much Kroger charges for eggs in Michigan. But it also would be very bad for markets. We've seen this kind of thing tried in lots of other countries before: Venezuela, Argentina, the Soviet Union, et cetera. It leads to shortages. It leads to black markets, plenty of uncertainty. And beyond that, the specific way this bill is written might actually increase prices because of some of the other language in it. Things like requiring public companies to disclose in their quarterly reports, their quarterly earnings reports, how they're setting prices, which is a great way to help them collude, which normally we don't want them to do. So anyway, the devil's in the details, I guess, for that bill, but it's really hard for me to imagine any form of legislation that preserves the spirit of what she's proposing that would not be, at best do nothing, at worst cause a lot of harm.
Just to make this as abundantly clear as possible, price controls are the most destructive force to the economy that you could ever do in terms of having accurate prices. Listen, the free market is the most precise, beautiful thing you could ever ask for in determining price discovery. Like she said there, the most destructive thing you could ever have in an economy is having a board or a committee of bureaucrats saying, okay, yeah, milk should cost $3, not $5. Bread should cost $2, not $4. No, because when you start doing that, the companies, they stop making the product because it's literally not profitable to make the product. And the reason that companies have to increase their price a lot of the time is because of bad policy decisions from the government. Listen, businesses are all constantly trying to compete to have the lowest price possible. If a company has a price that's too high, they're not going to be able to survive in business, because if it's really price gouging, somebody else, a competitor, can come along and offer a lower price. That's a market. And like she said, any country that's tried to do this has had shortages and famine. That's why 100 million people died under communism.